The Civil War was an influential aspect of American history, full of political turmoil and bloodshed. Beginning in 1861, the Civil War would forever change the way American citizens view and resolve national issues. The Civil War was infamous for the rivalry between two very distinct factions, the North and the South. Their disagreement was fueled by American problems such as slavery and suffrage, as well as the imbalance of power among slave states and free states.
Slaves from all over were desperate to escape to the North. The resistance from slaves kept growing and growing. They would try and hurt the South's economy by slowing their pace of work or stop working altogether. Some even started to destroy the crops. When plantation workers began to flee from advancing Union armies, some slaves refused to go and waited for Union soldiers to free them.
Due to the differences in the life and economy of the North and South, opinions often varied between the two, leading to political and eventually military conflict. The first instance of such military conflict occurred at Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina, a place well known today as the birthplace of the Civil War. As soon as this happened, President Abraham Lincoln called for more military support for the North, as war was sure to break out. The South appointed General Robert E. Lee, an important figure in the Battle of Gettysburg and the Civil War as a whole.
Robert E. Lee was one of the most important generals in the Civil War. In about the time of 1862, Lee really began to turn things around for the South. During the 7 Days Battle, Lee claimed many victories for the East, which led to him ending the Union threat in Virginia. I mean, it didn't matter if you were for the North or the South. Robert E. Lee was seen as a war hero. I don't think anyone would argue with that.
In June of 1862, Lee took charge of the Army of Northern Virginia. Meanwhile, Union soldier George B. McClellan was planning an attack on Richmond. Lee, however, sent spies on horseback to find out the size of the whole Union army. Lee then attacked. This was the first of a series of victories, ending the Union threat in Virginia. Lee was drawing up plans for his campaign in the North. When leaving the camp, a Confederate soldier mistakenly left a copy of Lee's plans wrapped around 3 cigars at the campsite. When Union troops stopped to rest at the abandoned campsite, a Union soldier stumbled upon these plans. This gave McClellan a chance to seek revenge on Lee. Their armies clashed at Antietam Creek near Sharpsburg, Maryland. The Battle of Sharpsburg was the bloodiest day in American history. After neither side was gaining any ground after a day of fighting, Lee, with 25,000 men dead, retreated back to Virginia.
There were multiple times where McClellan went head-to-head with Lee. But before that, McClellan was having a rough time getting started as a general. There was a time when President Lincoln was doubting his abilities because instead of planning attacks, he was drilling his troops. But, of course, McClellan did attack Lee a few times before getting replaced.
President Lincoln replaced him. Before going through multiple generals, Lincoln decided on Joseph Hooker, who faced Lee the following May at Chancellorsville, Virginia. Lee, with half as many men as Hooker, still managed to cut the Union forces to pieces. However, the South paid a high price for this victory. General Stonewall Jackson was returning from a patrol on May 2nd when Confederate guards mistook him for a Union soldier and shot him in the arm. His arm was amputated and he died 2 weeks later from pneumonia. On May 10th, Lee's prized general was dead. In late June 1863, Lee crossed into southern Pennsylvania. The South learned of a supply of shoes in the town of Gettysburg. There, on July 1st, they ran into the Union troops. Both sides called for reinforcements, and the Battle of Gettysburg began. The battle went on for 3 days. 90,000 Union troops, under the command of General George Meade, fought with 75,000 Confederates. The tide of the battle turned on July 3rd. General Lee ordered to General George Pickett to attack on the middle of the Union line. It was a deadly mistake. Many Southern troops charged directly into Union fire. This became known as Pickett's Charge. The Confederates retreated and waited for a Union counterattack. The Union rejoiced over the victory at Gettysburg. Lee lost hope for a Confederate victory in the North. The Civil War resulted in Union victory, which led to the eventual abolition of slavery. Though this was the ultimate goal, still, much blood was shed. Let us hope our country is never divided like this again.
During the Civil War,
Go. General Lee ordered Why did you start talking?
Sorry.
Douglas, like many abolitionists, argued. Oh my God! Go.
In late June 1863,
Oh
my God! We're trying to film!
No, I'm not ready. Don't shoot me in the eyes.
Reinforcements in the Battle of Betty.
Betty. Betty. Betty.
We're going so well!
Douglas, like many abolitionists, urged President Lincoln. Oh God.